Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam, ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi ashabi ajmain, amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Hunna libasul lakum, wa antum libasul lahunna. Rabbi shrah li sadri, wa yassir li amri, wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I welcome all the viewers with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And now we'll be having a special session. That is a call-in session where the viewers are most welcome to telephone at the studio and ask questions. But these questions will specifically be asked only by their sisters. And the topic for today's discussion is on marriage, especially on marriage preparation and how you should choose your life partner. So questions related to this topic only should be asked so that we complete the session we have been having. You're most welcome to give a call at the studio and ask questions on the telephone, and inshallah I'll try my level best to give you a satisfactory answer. So any sister would like to phone, please call up at the number given on the screen, and inshallah the calls will be taken one by one. May we have the question from the first sister.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is it recommended that that when one is on the lookout for a spouse for one's children, to first look into one's own extended family, like first cousins or so? If yes, then doesn't this contradict the modern medical findings?
Sister, there is no hadith or no Quranic verse which says that when you're looking for a life partner or a spouse, you should first look amongst your relatives or amongst the people who are close to you. That is for charity. That charity begins at home. If someone is in need amongst your family members, amongst relatives, that's for charity. You should see to it that they have the requirements. But as far as choosing a life partner is concerned, our beloved Prophet Muhammad said that you should look for 4 qualities which a normal human being looks for. It is virtue, beauty, wealth and nobility, and the best among this is the virtue. So there's no hadith saying that first you should look amongst relatives, and it is not even mustahab or encouraged that you should marry among the relatives, but Islam does give the option that you can marry among the relatives. But there is a hadith also, according to Dr. Ahmed Sakur, who says that you should not marry continuously generation after generation among the close relatives. That may lead to consanguineous marriages, which is said that if you have too many consanguineous marriages, it can lead to genetic problems. But if you have once in a while amongst the close relatives, normally there's no problem. Hope that answers the question, sister.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is related to the dawah, that is the meher. 3 basic questions. Once married, can it be increased? That is the meher, can it be increased? Secondly, is the wife legal for the husband without the payment of meher? And what is the right time for the meher payment?
The sisters have basically 3 questions. First, that once the marriage takes place, nikah has taken place, can the dawah be increased? Secondly, can the marriage be consummated without the payment of dawah, the meher? And the third is that when is the right time for payment? Sister, once the meher has been stipulated and once nikah takes place, then it cannot be changed. Before the nikah taking place, if they want any revision and there's a discussion between the would-be spouses, and if they change, there's no problem. But once the nikah has taken place, the meher has to remain the same. Point number 2, that can the marriage be consummated without the meher being paid? Sister, there are 3 types of meher in terms of payment. One is that the complete meher amount can be paid at the time of nikah or just before nikah. That's number 1. The second is that part can be paid during nikah or just before nikah, and part can be paid later on. And the third type is that the complete amount can be paid later on. This is by mutual consent of both the would-be husband and wife. All 3 types are Islamically valid. And if it has been agreed upon that part will be paid before nikah, part afterwards, or completely afterwards, the nikah can be consummated, there's no problem at all. But before the husband dies, it has to be seen that the meher amount that has been stipulated has to be paid. And just in case if he dies, from his wealth, whatever balance wealth he has, that meher amount will have to be paid to the wife, and then the balance property, if there are any debts of anyone else, it will have to be paid, and then it will be divided according to the laws of the Sharia. But marriage can be consummated without the meher being paid if it has been agreed upon before, and before dying the complete meher should be given to the wife, and if the meher is not given from the property that is balanced after his death, it should be given first and then divided among the inheritance. Hope that answers the question, sister. Are there any other questions, sister?
If the wife is incapable towards the husband, towards the duties, the husband takes a second wife, keeping the first one. And if it is vice versa, if the husband is incapable, what does the wife do?
The sister asked a question that if the wife is incapable due to certain physical reasons or medical reasons, then the husband can take a second wife and keep the first wife. What if the husband has certain problems, physical problems, and is incapable of doing the duties to the wife, then what does she do? Sister, in the first case, Islam gives permission for a man to have more than one wife. And in this case, there are two options, that if a wife has certain medical problems or she can handicap and she cannot satisfy the husband, then the option the husband has that either he divorces her and he takes a new wife, or he keeps the first wife and gives her all her rights and marries the second one. But natural, anyone would prefer that he keep the first wife just because she has got handicap or she had an accident and she cannot satisfy. It is preferable that he keeps her and gives her her rights and also marries the second one. In the other case, sister, where a husband has certain medical problems, and if he gets handicapped or cannot give satisfaction to the wife, in this case, a wife cannot take two husbands because it is prohibited, as Allah says in the Quran in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 23-24, that a woman cannot marry twice. So in this case, since polyandry is prohibited in Islam, a woman cannot have more than one husband. And there are various reasons which I've discussed in my cassettes on women's rights and in most common questions asked by non-Muslims, that if a wife takes more than one husband and if a child is born, you can identify who the mother is, but you won't be able to identify who the father is. And there are various other reasons why polyandry is not allowed. And the reason is that if the wife cannot get satisfaction from the husband, she yet has a right to seek divorce, to do nikah fask, or take khula from the husband and marry a new man. Islam gives permission. In this case, if you analyze as compared to the earlier case, in the earlier case, since man is a bread earner, it is preferably keeps the wife who is handicapped or has certain problems and marry the new one and supports both of them. In the first case where the woman is handicapped, if the husband gives divorce, there are very little chances that she'll get a new husband. So it preferably keeps her and marries the second one and gives both of them equal rights. In the second case, where the husband has certain medical problems, become handicapped, she can very well seek divorce and yet marry someone new. Because she's healthy and she has no physical problems, etc., she can very well get a new husband. As for the man, if he cannot fulfill his duties, he can yet have some other servant kept for him, and both will lead a good life. So in the second case, it's not permitted for a wife to have two husbands, but she can very well seek divorce once. But yet if she continues and gives the services, if she can, then she'll get more sawab. But if she cannot, she can very well do nikah fask and marry a new husband. Hope that answers the question, sister.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is regarding the divorces that are happening of late. Could you just throw some light on what are the major causes of divorce? And I suppose that communication also is one of the important things in marriage. So could you just tell us how can a husband and a wife improve upon their relationship on the basis of good communication?
This is asked a question that there are many cases of divorce, and I do agree with her. So what is the main reason for divorce and how can it be prevented? Sister, that is the reason we are having this full workshop. One of the reasons for the workshop is to choose a life partner. And secondary is that how do you see to it that you are able to do the duty of a good wife? One of the major reasons, sister, is because of incompatibility. That one of the major reasons for divorce to take place is that normally people don't really bother to select the right life partner and the right spouse. So in this case, they marry anyone, maybe the father has forced them or the mother has forced them, or without really inquiring into the details, they marry and then they realize they are not compatible. Maybe that the husband and wife, both of them are good, but they may not be compatible, yet the marriage doesn't work. Or maybe one of them is not right, on the right track, one may be Islamic, the other may not be Islamic. So because of this, it is one of the major reasons, because of incompatibility between the spouses, that divorce takes place. And many a times divorce doesn't take place also, but they carry on with the life that fine, now I'm married and this is my taqdeer, this is my destiny, and they continue the life. And many of the marriages, though divorce doesn't take place, but they are not having a very successful married life. And they continue with it because as though it is the destiny. So sister, one of the major reasons is because of not proper selection of the spouse. The people don't take proper care and trouble and striving for selection of the right life partner. This is one of the major reasons. The other reason is because of misunderstanding. It can be ghibat. Various reasons are there, sister. A talk can be given only on this, that how divorce can be prevented, sister. Hope the answer is in brief.
نكاح مبارك زواج مبارك
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sister.
Can we add in the nikah nama a condition that the husband asks for her permission before going for second marriage or remarriage?
Sister, in a nikah nama, since nikah nama is a misakh, a sacred covenant as the Quran says in Surah Nisa and in other places in the Quran, you can put in any condition as long as it is not against the Sharia. In short, you can put any condition which is optional. For example, marrying more than one wife is optional. So very well you can put the condition in your nikah nama that I will marry you under the condition that as long as I am your wife, you will not take a second wife. But you cannot put any condition which is haram. You cannot say that I will marry you if you have alcohol, because drinking alcohol is haram. And you cannot put in any condition that you should not do things which are fard. For example, you cannot say that you should not offer salah, then only will I marry you. Offering salah is fard. So you can put any condition which is optional. You can prevent him from doing anything which is optional. You can force him to do something which is optional. But you cannot prevent him from doing something which is fard, or you cannot ask him to do something which is haram. So as long as these things are not going outside the purview of the Islamic Sharia, you can put in the clause that I will marry you as long as you don't take any other wife, or you can put the condition that even I would like to give, like if I want, even I can give divorce. Because the right to give divorce is given to the husbands, to the males. But if the woman wants, even she can put a clause in the nikah nama that even if I want, I can give you unilateral divorce. This is called as isma or talaq tawfid. So these things which are optional can be put in the nikah nama. If the husband agrees, fine, he can go to the nikah nama and he can go to the nikah. Or if he feels that no, I don't want to marry such a woman as put the clause, he'll search for someone else and the girl will search for someone else. Hope that answers the question, sister.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If a girl feels that she is not in a position to judge the character of the boy she's about to marry, can she leave the decision on her parents?
The question poses that can a girl who cannot judge the character of a boy she is willing to select, can she leave the decision on the parents? Very well, sister. There's no harm at all. She can trust the parents, she can take the guidance. In fact, taking guidance of the parents is mustahab. Unless you know that the parents are going against the Sharia, taking guidance is good from the parents, they are more experienced. Unless you have solid proof that the parents are not very much Islamically inclined and then you go against the wishes, that is fine. Otherwise, taking the advice is good, you should take. And amongst the 4 criteria which the Prophet said that a person looks for in marriage, one is beauty, second is wealth, third is nobility, fourth is virtue. And the Prophet said the best that you should look for is a virtuous spouse. And virtue is the most difficult to judge, sister. To judge beauty, you can very well judge. You can see the boy and you can immediately decide within a few seconds whether he's handsome or not. Same for the boy. If he wants to choose a wife, he can look at the girl, he can decide immediately within a few seconds whether she's beautiful or not. When it comes to wealth, there are high chances that you will be correct by looking at the house, looking at the bank balance, looking at the business, whether the person you're marrying is wealthy or not. When it comes to nobility, you can look at the family history, at the family tree, you can come to know. The most difficult to judge, sister, is the virtue. There is a type of negative testing. If a person is not virtuous, checking that is easy. But whether a person is virtuous is very difficult, sister. So for example, if you know certain things about the boy, that fine, he has many girlfriends, etc., you can be sure that he is not virtuous. But if you feel and have done an inquiry that doesn't have girlfriends, or he is modest, yet the chances of inquiry is not 100% true. So the chances of making a mistake in the criteria of virtue and character is the maximum, sister. But what you have to do is that as far as possible, rule out the things which surely indicate that he is not virtuous, he is not of a good character. That you can do, sister, but 100% sure you cannot be, because this checking of virtue and character is very difficult. But very well you can take the help of your parents, and you should take. They'll help you to maybe judge, unless they are not very close to the Quran Sunnah. That is the only time where you can go against the wishes. Hope that answers the question, sister.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother, can one marry themselves in a joint family? Is the concept of joint family valid in Islam?
So this is the question that can one marry in joint family? Is the concept of joint family valid? If you mean marrying in joint family, marrying a close relative is fine as long as the person is not the mahram, not the brother of the father or the brother of the mother, etc. If it doesn't come in the list of mahram, you can marry. But what I feel your question is, sister, that can you live in a joint family? Not marry in a joint family, can you live in a joint family? Sister, Islam doesn't encourage a person to live in joint family, though living is not haram, you can. But when you live in joint family, you have to maintain the hijab, you have to do hijab. For example, you are living with the parents and you're living with the family of your brother-in-law who has a wife and who has children, your husband is there. So maintaining hijab is difficult, sister. So living in a joint family is not encouraged, but it is allowed. But if you live in a joint family, sister, you have to maintain your hijab and see to it that you don't go outside the purview of the Islamic Sharia. It's possible, it's difficult. It's not encouraged, but very well you can live in a joint family system. Hope that answers the question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
For the nikah ceremony, what things are obligatory of first, and should the girl listen to the nikah khutbah?
The first question, what is obligatory for a nikah to take place? Sister, the obligatory things are basically two things. One, sister, is the meher. But naturally, after choosing a life partner and everything else, for the nikah to take place, sister, one is meher should be there. Whether it's paid immediately on nikah, before nikah, part before nikah, part afterwards, or completely afterwards. But the nikah amount has to be fixed. That's obligatory. Second is two witnesses, sister. Two witnesses are required, and that's it. These are the two major things that are required. Not nikah khutbah should take place, it's preferable, but the minimum requirement is the meher and two witnesses, sister. And regarding the girl, should she listen? It's preferable she listens, but even if she doesn't listen, that doesn't mean that the nikah does not take place. The advice is given, not that nikah khutbah should be there, it is preferable, it is good, it is mustab, but the two major requirements is the meher and the two witnesses, sister. Hope that answers the question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I live in a family where financial status matters. The nikah is not practiced on sunnah, and there are engagements which stretch till 3 years. So how can I just convince my father and my parents, especially my father, because they just laugh at me and they say that it's not possible in our family.
Sister asks a question that in her family the engagement takes place and nikah takes place after 3 years. There are many things which are un-Islamic that take place. Sister, it is preferable that you should marry as soon as possible, as the beloved Prophet said. It's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, point number 7 in the book of Nikah, that, O young people, whoever has the means to get married should get married. That means marrying as soon as possible is better. For certain reasons, if it's stretched, if there are certain problems, once in a while it's different. But if you plan that the engagement has taken place, it's preferable as soon as possible. Regarding un-Islamic practices taking place in nikah, I'm aware that today in the society, whether it be in Bombay or other parts of India or other parts of the world, there are various things which are un-Islamic. And one of the un-Islamic activities is the intermingling of sexes. The guests that come, the visitors that come, they sit together, they intermingle. Even the bride and the bridegroom, they're on the same dais and people come and meet. There's no hijab. There is violation of the hijab, which is very common. Furthermore, there is extravagance, excessive extravagance, which is totally haram. Extravagance itself is haram. And our beloved Prophet Muhammad said in the hadith that the best nikah is the nikah in which the least expense is made. That means in which the least expenditure is done on nikah, that is the best nikah. And the Prophet also said that make the nikah so simple that zina becomes difficult. Today, on the contrary, nikah has become so expensive and so difficult, and zina is so easy. It's very easy with just a few rupees, or 50, 60, 100 rupees you can do zina. It's very easy. And nikah is so difficult that you require so many lakhs of rupees, you want to give a reception party, etc. So this is the wrong values of society system. We should not encourage. We should strongly be against these values. And that is the reason that we, those who have knowledge of Islam, we should see to it that we should put our foot down as far as parents are concerned and say that we require a simple nikah. Have a simple nikah. And now there's a new trend that you have a simple nikah in the mosque and then a walima where you spend hundreds of thousands of rupees, spend millions of rupees, which is again extravagance. And now a trend has started, mashallah, and we find that there are youngsters who put their foot down and tell the parents that we want a simple nikah in the mosque and walima just a minimum requirement, call a few friends, not that you spend excessively on it. And that's what we should do, sister, and we should put our foot down that if they have intermingling of sexes, we will not agree with it, we will not take part. But it requires guts, it requires courage. We should be able to put our foot down with our parents and tell them that this thing is completely un-Islamic. And if we do these things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not give barakah in our married life. Instead of spending hundreds of thousands of rupees, you can do charity. Or you can see to it that you invest that money in the good form, in the Islamic way, or for the betterment of the future or really Islamic life, or for your children, sister. Hope that answers the question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is, there are few husbands as well as some brothers who stay out of India for in Gulf and also, and they cannot earn so much as they earn there in India, that is. So is it that when they hardly come back in India once in a year or twice, once in 2 years, so how far is it Islamically allowed? And if somebody is already in such a wedlock, is it allowed to continue?
Sister asks the question that there are some husbands who go out to earn money because they get more money there and they come once in a year or once in 2 years. Is it allowed? And what should she do? Sister, according to a hadith of Hazrat Umar, may Allah please with him, he had said the maximum person can stay away from his wife is for 4 months. That also for jihad fi sabilillah, qital fi sabilillah. That is when you go for fighting the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At that time, maximum person can stay for 4 months. But to earn a living, even 4 months is too much. And I know many people, they go and they come on average once a year, which is un-Islamic. You cannot stay away from your spouse for more than 4 months. In this case, sister should request your husband that he should come back to Bombay. He may earn half the money what he's earning in the Gulf countries or abroad. He may earn quarter. That's no problem, but he should not do an un-Islamic act. You should force him to come back. Staying away from the wife for more than 4 months not allowed. That also maximum 4 months in the way of qital, etc. But only for earning a living. If he can take you along and get a family visa and you live with him and your children live with you, that's not a problem. But living separately for more than 4 months, Islam doesn't give permission. I hope that answers the question. And now the time is running short and we have to end this session of the telephone calls. And I would like to thank the sisters who asked the questions. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may He reward all the sisters. And we come at the end of the session. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah.